To all those people out there that thought that this episode was gonna be about what's gonna happen to Yang, well, screw you! We get backstory! Dark backstory. Oh dear. Everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake of the One Man Band is back again, and welcome once again to a RWBY episodic review. Now, we're looking at episode 7 of volume 3, Beginning of the End. Now, this episode is probably almost as big as the previous one, not only in information, but also in showing how the series of RWBY is going to go. The episode was even put up on the Rooster Teeth website with an attachment to a post by Gray Haddock. Now, there's going to be a link to this post in the description down below, hopefully if I can get it there, but pretty much it goes into talking about how RWBY is going to grow with its audience, and it's going to continue to go down paths that we may have not thought that it would. So we know that it's going to become darker and more mature the more it goes on. And this episode definitely signifies just how dark it can go, and just at this point. Now, to be honest, I'm perfectly alright with RWBY getting a little bit dark, because it shows that it wants to take itself seriously, and that this show believes that its audience is mature enough to take it. So I, for one, am really excited on the darkness that is yet to come. But enough about that, let's talk about the episode. Now, a majority of this episode is a series of flashbacks that is connected via a black screen with just audio going on. Now, you have to listen very closely to those segments because they bridge one part of the memories to another. Now, the very first one begins with introducing Emerald. Cinder came across Emerald first. We pretty much see that Emerald was indeed a thief, and that she was discovered by Cinder almost completely by accident. It was due to Emerald's use of her semblance that caught Cinder's eye. And I know a lot of you have already put in the comments, and I'm going to just yell this at me, I told you so, I told you so. Yes, indeed, you did tell me so. It is indeed Emerald who can manipulate people's minds. Now, Emerald's semblance is a form of mind manipulation. She's able to manipulate people's minds, forming audio and visual hallucinations. Or illusions, if you will. She can make a single person see exactly what Emerald wants them to see. And we do later realize that she can indeed work on two people, but it's a strain on her mind. One person is crystal clear, good. But when she's starting to work on two people, that's going to strain her mind and her body. Emerald used her semblance to take a ring right in front of a jeweler's face, and that's what caught Cinder's eye. She was able to simply just do that and do it flawlessly. And so Cinder knew that she's going to need this girl for her operations. But what really tips Emerald to actually go and follow Cinder? Well, it's the fact that Cinder promises her that she'll never be hungry again. She'll never be a street rat again. She won't be living on the streets, clutching at food, wondering when her next meal is gonna be. If she goes with Cinder, she knows that she will be taken care of. But once Emerald steps in that doorway, she cannot get out. If we listen to later on during one of the bridge segments, we hear that Cinder actually hits Emerald when she talks against her. And Cinder goes off to say that Emerald should know her place and not to argue with her. So we know that Cinder not only promised Emerald that she would never be hungry again, but also probably threatens Emerald with violence and neglect, maybe. And I think that Emerald has kind of formed some form of Stockholm syndrome with Cinder. She idolizes Cinder, but Cinder still berates her and belittles her in certain segments. I mean, there's the segment in Volume 2 where Cinder says, don't think, obey, to which Emerald just simply agrees. Yes, I will. And even though Emerald thought that she was doing something good, Cinder turned it around to make it represent something bad. Cinder is definitely very good at manipulating people, and Emerald has just eaten it up. Mercury, on the other hand, that's a bit of a different story. We learn that Cinder stated that she wished to take an apprentice. She wanted to take someone to put under her wing. Now, whether this was a guise just to get to Marcus Black is entirely up in the air, but we do know that she was seeking out an assassin named Marcus Black. But when she arrives at his homestead, she finds the house on fire, Marcus Black dead, and his son standing triumphantly over his dead father's body. Now we see that in this segment that Mercury's legs are busted up. He's got gauze and wrappings around his legs, and there's physical blood coming through the bandages. Now we do indeed find out later on that his legs are mechanical. So I told you so on that, son! Alrighty guys, fair is fair. You were correct about Emerald. I was correct about Mercury. I think that makes us even. All in all, I think it's amazing that we were able to figure that stuff out before it was confirmed in this episode. But back to Mercury's busted up legs. Now, obviously, those aren't wounds he sustained in the battle. We hear that Cinder and Emerald were witnessing the battle between him and his father firsthand, and they came out as soon as probably Marcus Black hit the floor. So that goes to show that his mechanical legs were attached, were put on before that fight, and it is due to the use of those legs that it messed his legs up. It was probably right after that surgery that Mercury decided to take out his dad. Now, we do know that his dad was probably a bit of a drunk, because Mercury did say that his dad did come home a couple times with the booze on his breath. But we don't exactly know why Mercury would go as far as to kill his father. And it is true that his father was an assassin, and probably not that much of an upstanding citizen, but a father's a father. So something bad must have happened to drive Mercury to that point. But due to that, Mercury is taken in to Cinder's plan. She asks him if his father taught him what he knew. And by the way Mercury fights and does things, I think he indeed did. I think Mercury's father taught Mercury almost everything that he knew. Through another Black transition, we hear that Cinder hits Emerald, tells her to know her place. Mercury asks what's this plan in for him, but we don't get to hear an answer. So we still do not know what Mercury is going to get out of this plan. So we're gonna have to look out for that. We also learn how they were able to get Roman Torchwick into the mix. It stated that Mercury is like, if you want to know a city, you talk to its rats. And what is one of the rats of Vale? One of the rats of Vale is Roman Torchwick. So we pretty much get the gist that Cinder got Roman Torchwick into the deal from that flashback. And then we transition to another flashback where Cinder is talking with Adam Torres, the White Fang leader. But it does indeed seem that Adam is in charge of this detachment of White Fang that Cinder has come to talk to. And she talks to him as if he is the leader of the White Fang. So I think it's safe to say that Adam Torres is in charge of the White Fang. And until I get more information, that's what I'm gonna be saying. Adam goes as far as to say that the White Fang is not some group for hire. It's a revolution. It's a movement that is supposed to revolutionize the faunist way of life. And that he doesn't want to fight for any human revolution or human cause. Because, you know, humans been keeping the faunist down. They don't like that. So, although Cinder states that they have an informant in Vale, which is Roman Torchwick, and that she believes that her plan will benefit both their parties, Adam still declines her offer. To which Cinder and company leave. And we see that it is during this time that Blake was still a member of the White Fang. Technically, it was her last day, because we learned that the very next day that the train from the Black Trailer is going to be heading through, the canyon area, where they would then attack it, leading to the Black Trailer. So, with the loss of Adam and the White Fang, Cinder states that there's still one more thing they have to take care of, which leads us to the battle scene of the episode. We get to learn how Amber, the Autumn Maiden, was taken down by the Chaos Syndicate. We see here firsthand just how elaborate some of Emerald's illusions can be. She begins with forming an illusion of a crying young girl next to a broken bike. And then later on in the battle, she uses this illusion semblance to make Amber confused to get Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury in to fight her when she was using her semblance to make them phase in and out of existence, making them seem really fast. Oh, and let it also be known that Amber is riding on a horse. Now, this is another animal in Remnant that we have seen that is not a grim creature. And I believe that that horse shall be dubbed Snowmane, because that is the name of the horse of King Theoden from Lord of the Rings, which was a white... Well, actually, it was speckled. But still, I still think that horse's name should be Snowmane and that he should come back. Even though he ran away once the battle started, but he was a pretty horse. Now, once the battle starts, we see that Amber has the ability to block dust bullets, like we see Cinder is able to do later on. Well, technically earlier on in the series, but later on in the actual time frame of RWBY. You know what I mean. So she's able to deflect or completely stop bullets. And we see that her weapon is a form of staff with a burned dust crystal at the very top, which she uses to manipulate fire. But we do see that she has some form of control over wind dust. So using wind and fire, she's able to beat Mercury and Emerald back for a while. And it is through the use of the burned dust that we see that Mercury indeed has robotic legs. And once that happened, I just went like, whoa, I was right! But eventually, Emerald and Mercury seem to be taking the advantage. They're actually beating her down, which then drives Amber into a corner. She then breaks out her big guns, tapping into her Seasonal Maiden power, which technically can be stated it's the Avatar state from The Last Airbender. It is. That's what it looks like. Until there's an actual name for it, it's going to be Avatar state. In this state, Amber is able to levitate and manipulate every single kind of force of nature. She manipulates lightning, she manipulates wind, and then uses ice to freeze leaves, and then use them as projectiles against Emerald and Mercury. It is in this state that she is super powerful, and I would just love to see how powerful she could have truly been, and how much other trick she would have had up her sleeve. But it is once she achieves her Avatar state is when Cinder then comes into the mix, and it is now 3-on-1. And even for a Seasonal Maiden, we see that that is very bad odds. But using her Seasonal Maiden powers, she's able to beat them back to where they are almost defeated. Using wind, fire, and lightning, she's able to knock them all on their feet. And then she actually goes into a killing blow, going to take out Emerald, due to the fact that she probably sees her as the biggest threat due to her illusion powers, I would think. It is in this moment that she raises up her staff for the killing blow, which opens up her back to being hit by an arrow from Cinder's weapon. Now that arrow was square on into the spine. I'm pretty sure that was spinal damage. So even if Amber still had a bit of fight left in her, I don't think she would have been able to fight anymore. With that hit, she was done and out of the count for good. And then we get to see the scene on how Cinder was able to obtain some of the Seasonal Maiden's powers. She dons on a special glove. It is pure white, but there is an insignia on the back of the hand part of the glove. Now, this insignia, it's red, it's conglomerative, but it seems to have an eye. A red eye in the center of it. And we did see that through the battle, Cinder's powers, she was able to manipulate and teleport things through small teleport holes that almost opened up like eyes. Now, we have actually seen this whole eye thing multiple times. Twice, even. We've seen it in the opening credits. It is the red and black orb that I pointed out, I believe in my Lord Grimm video, and in the Volume 3 intro breakdown that I did. So, that is definitely a symbol of something. But we also see it with Raven. Raven is able to open up portals and walk through them. Does this mean that Raven is in league with Cinder in some way? Or are there semblances similar in that way, which would lead us to believe it's some form of hereditary semblance? So, are Cinder and Raven in league with each other? Or are they family? I'll let you guys argue that in the comments. But before I get off track, we see that it is through this portal. A portal opens up in the palm of her hand, ejecting an insect-like creature. Now, I believe that this creature is a creature of Grimm in some way. It has the same exact coloring, and Amber seemed to recognize it in some way. Now, whether this actually be an old form of Grimm or a new variation of Grimm is up for grabs. But Amber did seem to recognize it, and actually was afraid by it. A fear shot into her eyes when she saw that, almost like she knew what was coming. Now, this insect creature shoots out goop. Pretty much that's the definition of it. It's goop, which then attaches itself to Amber's face and attaches it to Cinder. And it is through that Cinder starts leeching the power out of Amber. And it is here that we see that a triumphant knight is coming to Amber's rescue, although it may be a little bit too late. That knight is Crow. Now, here's the thing I'm wondering. Was Amber supposed to meet up with Crow at some point? Were they partners? Do they know each other? Was he supposed to be her bodyguard because he knew that she was a seasonal maiden? Or did they have some form of romantic relationship? I mean, that's up for grabs. All we know is that he comes to her rescue, and he doesn't go for a killing blow on Cinder or Mercury or Emerald. What he does is that he severs the connection that is binding Amber to Cinder. So it seems that Crow knows what that insect was doing, knows what was going on, and knew he had to stop that first, overall, before anything else was done. And once he rescues Amber, we see that he tries to get a look at Cinder, but her face is distorted and blotched. I think that was Emerald's doing. she was masking their identities to him. Once Emerald saw him coming, that's what she probably did, because they knew that they had to get out of there, because they were in no position to fight anymore. They had already fought with a seasonal maiden, and probably took out a majority of their aura in the first place. But once Crow arrives, the Chaos Syndicate makes a hasty retreat, and even though they only accomplished a fraction of what they wanted to do, Cinder still has a very good amount of the Seasonal Maiden's power. So they then return to Adam and the White Fang. They return not long after they left, because we just now learn that Blake is gone. She left the White Fang, and the White Fang lieutenant is stating that he will find her. He swears on his life. But Adam tells him not to. Don't. I have to return to Mistral. You know, I can tell by the way Adam is talking that he cares about Blake and cares for her well-being, but he knows that going after her at this moment isn't the right thing to do. So he's probably thinking like, I'll give it some time, and if she comes back, she comes back. But if she doesn't, then we'll probably have to go out and look for her, because Adam, I think, cares for Blake, but I think he cares more for his White Fang revolution. But it's during this conversation they hear sounds of a fight going on outside, and so they come out of the tent, weapons ready, to see Cinder and company. All of the White Fang fighters that were on guard are either unconscious or dead. They have been taken out by these three individuals. And then Cinder continues. She states again that they could have gone to anyone, but they went to him. And this plan of hers can be beneficial to both of them, or only one of them. Now you see, that right there is important. They do indeed come there bearing gifts, bearing money, you know, Lien and Dust, but she is also threatening them. The White Fang, in this alliance that they have, they're kind of unwilling participants. Pretty much, if Adam hadn't have taken this deal, then they would have been wiped out and killed. So the White Fang is kind of a unwilling participant, as I said, in Cinder's schemes. But if Adam can gain something from it, I think he'll be alright. And then what happens after that is then Adam indeed goes and leaves and goes to Mistral, like he said that he was going to do. That is why we don't see him in the first 2 volumes. But we do see the White Fang Lieutenant. He probably left the White Fang Lieutenant in charge to kind of be his liaison and to watch over Torchwick until Adam then arrived again. And now that Adam is back in Vale, the White Fang is going to be reinvigorated. Their leader is back, and they're going to follow him to the death. And if Adam does go along with Cinder's plan, there's going to be a lot of casualties, both with the White Fang and on the Atlas military side. Alrighty, so now I'm going to talk about probably one of the biggest things about this episode. Now, throughout the Black transitional phases and the very last transitional phase, we hear Cinder is communicating with someone, talking about how this power will be ours, and I only achieved a fraction of the power. She's talking with someone. A benefactor, I believe. Somebody who she's either working in league with or working for. So Cinder, I don't believe, is the head honcho anymore. Someone else is pulling the strings. And it is probably that person that has given Cinder the opportunity to achieve this plan that she is going through with. That is why I believe that she is working with Raven. What if she was communicating with Raven? And what if there is a secret organization that is kind of an anti-Brotherhood of the Seasonal Maidens that is trying to gain all the powers of the Seasonal Maidens and use them for nefarious purposes. And Cinder is one of the members, and maybe Raven is also a member. I'm just saying, this opens up a lot of thinking room. Who is Cinder working for? Why is her plan important to the person she's working for? And are there other people in league with this coalition of evil? And also, what's with the freaking black-red portal things? Is that something that we should keep looking out for? Which I believe we should. But what connects all of them? And once that flashback is done, we pop back to present time where Yang has just shot Mercury in the leg. And she's surrounded by guards, the crowd is booing, and Emerald is calling for help. And so 2 paramedics arrive to carry off Mercury on a stretcher. Now, it should be stated that Emerald uses her semblance to manipulate both their minds. Both the paramedics' minds, because she later states that messing with 2 minds is very, very difficult. She manipulated their minds so that they would see that, oh, his leg is really busted up. And then when they were running by, they saw, oh, that right there, that's an ambulance. Because really, that airship, it didn't really look like an ambulance. But I guess it could have been. Was there a cross symbol on it? I'm not sure. Would you look at that? It is an ambulance. There's a cross on it and everything. And then once all that's done, we see that Emerald, Mercury, and Cinder, and Neo, who acts as a driver, an ambulance driver, then leave the arena. We see what the outcome is due to Yang's actions. We see that the news is eating it up. We see that people from other places of the world have doubts about Ozpin now. They state, what is Ozpin teaching his students so that they would do something like this? It's completely disrespectful and, shouldn't be there at all. So more people are losing faith in Ozpin. So the idea that Cinder's trying to get rid of Ozpin is definitely starting to become more clear. It's starting to seem that that is actually part of the plan. And we also see that Grim activity has increased, and that even though Atlas has brought in reinforcements, they're still having a hard time keeping it contained, and it is almost pleading for other huntsmen in the area to come and help quell this infestation. So, the people are restless. The Grim are restless. Everything is almost ready to boil over. Cinder just has a few more steps, my friends. Just a few more steps to where it truly will be the end. 'Cause this was only the beginning. Hey everybody, once again, I just want to thank you for watching this video and just enjoying RWBY with me, because this show's pretty freaking awesome. Every time I watch a new episode, my faith in this show is just revitalized. So, not that I ever lose any faith in this show, mind you, but I hope you like this video, so be sure to like and favorite if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you feel inclined to, and there's going to be links up here taking you to my Facebook group, Team Theory, where you can go and put all your crackpot theories on there. Speaking of crackpot theories, you can put them on Team Theory. Definitely do that. But you should also leave any questions or comments down in the comment section so that I can talk about them in my feedback video later on this week. And also, check out the link to my Patreon page, and if you feel inclined to help me out in that way, I would really much enjoy it, and thank you for it. And once again, big thanks to my Patreon supporters, especially Grant Allen Hill. You're amazing, and thanks for sticking with me all this time. So, yeah, thanks again to all those people out there. And be sure to like and favorite if you've enjoyed. Subscribe, of course, if you feel inclined to. I think I already said that. But check out some other videos that I've done, because I do a lot of RWBY stuff, and soon I'll be doing even more besides RWBY stuff. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, comments, and questions down below. Crackpot Theories at Group Team Theory on Facebook. Check out my Patreon page. Check out these videos. And I'll see you next time. I'm out there in YouTube land. I'll see you then.